Sorry about that. I always cough at the most inopportune moments. Let me turn off the fan. Good morning, and welcome to another chat session on this Wednesday morning, the 2nd day of August, in the year of our Lord, 2023. And we're coming to you live from beautiful downtown Crestline in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California's Inland Empire. Okay, I watched Zero Theorem, a film by Terry, evil phone, a film by Terry Gilliam. All right, hey, I said do not disturb, you evil phone. What is it doing? All right. I'm tired. Had my first visit to the chiropractor. When I walk out, I'm tired, and the doctor did all the work. Oh well. I had a little bit of a scare. Last week, I put my foot into the shoe and felt a little poke, and then my foot began swelling, and the wound began looking awful. Spider bite of some sort. So I used the home remedies that I know. Soak it in warm water. Use betadine, although mine is a different brand. It's povidone iodine, but it's the same thing. And the main thing about it is no alcohol. It can sting a little, but not like alcohol. And the wound developed a little dome on the top of my foot. So I got the fingernail brush and brushed it 2 nights in a row while I was soaking my foot to relieve the pressure. That worked. And by Saturday, my leg was swelling too, so I went to the emergency room because it was a Saturday. No one else was open. The doctor said, at least at that point, I didn't need to worry. I had good blood flow and just keep doing what I was doing. But I started, instead of iodine, using peroxide. You know, the little brown bottle of hydrogen peroxide. What it does basically is bubble up oxygen. Oxygen kills most germs. And of course, I forgot to mention, not only did I soak my foot, but I also massaged it and wrapped it with gauze to keep it clean. Couldn't put my shoes on. The foot was a little too big to slip into a slip into a shoe. And my hair is tickling me. It's okay now. It seems to have resolved. that they prescribed antibiotics just in case. And I have an antibiotic ointment that I can use, but I think I'm good. I will use it just in case, but at this point, it's probably just in case, not really necessary. Anyway, I'm glad that I listened to old people when I was young. I knew what I could do. See, my grandparents grew up on the farm. They didn't rush to the hospital or the doctor when they had a situation like this. They treated it at home, which in some cases can be barbaric and painful, but not in my case. It was just, well, as long as I'm soaking the wounded foot, I'll soak the other foot too. I have the cleanest feet in town. So since I was kind of not walking around much, I watched Zero Theorem by Terry Gilliam. Witta, who's often in chat, kindly sent me a link to where I could watch it for free online. It's quite a lot like his movie Brazil. If anything, it's more weird, and I like weird movies. Sorry about that, it's morning. Tora thinks she wants OUT. She's clawing at the door. Tora, you have to say hi to your adoring fans. You don't get to leave. She's my best kitty cat. I'm working on getting homes for the 3 feral kittens that a mama cat dumped here. Mama cat left. Don't know where she went. One of them is so friendly, so affectionate. I'm tired of holding her and petting her, but the other 2 don't want to be touched. Anyway, a local pet charity is going to get them spayed for me so they won't make any more babies. But all the shelters are full, and the public shelter, the county shelter, is so full that if I took them there, they would simply be put to sleep, euthanized, killed. But if they get spayed and neutered, at least they won't make more kittens. Tora is up in paws. She doesn't like sharing her house with these stranger cats. But she doesn't hurt them, but she swats them if they're out of line. What, Tora? There you are. Come here, babe. Say hi to your adoring fans. Yes, it's such a good girl. That's my pretty cat. Oh, man, you got so big. My little girl got big and huge. Yes. Ow. Don't poke my tummy. Ah. Ah. That's a good girl. Sit on your penthouse. Ah. So I'm watching Zero Theorem, nursing a hurt foot, and thinking, man, this is weird. The plot is very thin, but it's always present while you're watching all these weird things happen. The man is a math whiz working on a computer. And when he leaves the secure office where he works, he enters a world where people just live on their computers. some kind of video game. And he does it too, and he meets with his supervisor. But his main task is to work on the zero theorem to prove that everything is meaningless. Hence the title of the film, Zero Theorem. Terry Gilliam is amazing. People are more connected to virtual images on their computers than to the real people. Let me just check one thing. I don't know what year the movie was made, and I forgot to look it up. 2013. Okay, and when was Brazil made? Brazil. 1985. That's a long stretch of time in between, and yet the two films are in many ways the same. In Brazil, a renegade handyman fixes people's air conditioning illegally because you're supposed to wait for the officials to come and fix it, only the officials never arrive. In Zero Theorem, people live in their computers and become almost part of the computer program. And there are these cubes that kind of encapsulate each person. And the ending is a lot like Brazil. I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say that, oh, hi, Delta Dart Carter. At the end of Zero Theorem, it's almost the same as the end of Brazil, where he enters paradise, but it isn't real, and he's all alone. But he kind of seems happy. But by being totally connected to the computer, he's totally disconnected from other people and anything real in his life. Okay. Anyway, many thanks to Witta, from one of our regular chatters, for sending me the link so I could watch Terry Gilliam's Zero Theorem. It's weird. You have to like weird to like this movie, but I like weird. All kinds of things are happening. I'm finally getting the contract to sign soon. It hasn't quite arrived yet, for my short story that will be in Somnoscope, an anthology that will be available on Amazon. When I have all the info, I'll send it to various social media. Also, I'll have a short story in Emanations. I forget which volume, 10 or 11. Also, these books are available on Amazon or directly from the publishers. So I'll get the info eventually. But, you know, my story Mural, which was turned down by the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, is one that Philip K. Dick started to write and decided not to. His friend and colleague Ray Nelson, whose novel inspired that movie, I'm blanking on it. Oh well. Shoot. Let me see if Google will help me. Yeah. His story 8 o'clock in the Morning was later used by John Carpenter as the basis for his 1988 film They Live. You know, where Rowdy Piper has the sunglasses that allow him to see the aliens. Well, Ray Nelson had asked Phil to write a story about Mary Magdalene. He needed a Philip K. Dick story for an anthology that he was putting together. The anthology was stories by lots of different authors. Etsy Quentia likes weird too. There isn't much weirder than They Live. Special sunglasses to see the aliens who are taking over the world. Tora, if you want something, you gotta say hi to your adoring fans. And when you keep demanding treats, you really ought to eat them. Yeah, I know, but no, you'll have to wait. There, she said hi to her adoring fans. Well, anyway, Phil just could not write the story that Ray Nelson wanted. He was working on I know I'm blanking on Phil's title. The one, A Little Something for Us Tempunauts, where the astronauts are traveling through time. Phil's stories are pretty weird, but Zero Theorem and Brazil, Terry Gilliam crosses the boundary because the weirdness in Terry Gilliam's films is just too true. And in some cases, the weirdness in Phil's stories is true. That's the scary part. Well, anyway, I wrote a story about Mary Magdalene because I thought, really, to have the point of view of a woman, the author needs to be a woman. And that just might be what stopped Phil from writing the story. He couldn't get into the mindset of a Mary Magdalene. He could only view her from outside and not get into her head. Oh, hi, Sam Coker. Yeah, I remember you. So, Zero Theorem is just focused, I think, mainly on the fact that our main character seems not to care about other people. But by the end, you realize that he's distancing himself from them because he cares. And they criticize him for the decisions he's made, but I think they're wrong. He gives up all human connection and seems to lack empathy. But really, as a sort of rebel, he's dangerous for them to be around. And the film doesn't say that explicitly, it does not spell things out. It invites you to interpret it for yourself. The general storyline at Sequentia, yeah, I try to just kind of go through a bunch of stuff and nonsense at the beginning, like the spider bite on my foot. All healed, much better now. Took a week. Anyway, Zero Theorem by Terry Gilliam, who also directed Brazil, that cult classic, is about a man he's a math whiz and he's on his computer furiously working to solve the zero theorem and prove that everything in the universe is meaningless. Apparently, proving that theorem would provide all kinds of wealth for the greedy corporate bosses. And his work is tearing him apart and keeping him isolated from other people. He seems at the end to have been disconnected from any sympathy or empathy toward other people, but the way I see it, it's exactly the opposite. He knows that their contact with him would be bad for them, even though he needs a human connection. He's toxic. And he ends up in a fantasy world, just like the ending of Brazil, the 1988 film, also by Terry Gilliam. It's wonderful, but it isn't real, and he's alone. But it's much like our world, where we're all stuck on our computers, getting everything through the internet. And when people go out to eat, they're on their phones instead of talking to each other. I don't do that. I put the phone away when I'm out to lunch, which is also a colloquial phrase for being doolally, a little crazy. I put the phone away and talk to people. Of course, I don't go out much. I can't afford it, but my family will take me out and pay. And on my birthday, a good friend took me out to lunch. I put the phone away and talk to the humans I'm with. I think they're human, but I don't have Rowdy Roddy Piper's sunglasses, as in they live. Oh, you like the ethereal? Etsequentia likes the ethereal and dreamlike atmosphere of my cigarette smoke. Well, it's accidental cinematography, Etsequentia. Um, just is. Quite often, the best things in life are serendipitous. They're lucky happenstance. They seem random, but I suspect that they are not really random. There's no real randomness. For example, our random number generators done on computers, they're only quasi random, not really random. Hang on. It's morning. I cough every morning. I think there is a plan, or there are plans, and stuff happens for a reason. There we go again. I know you think it's cigarette smoking, but I've smoked for over 50 years. I developed this cough after a DPT jab, diphtheria pertussis tetanus. Actually, I had a cough earlier. I was working on an Air Force base next to the runway, and I was afraid to light a cigarette because the air smelled like kerosene, jet fuel. And that's where I first started coughing, but after I quit working there, the cough went away. That would be early 2000s. It went away entirely until I had that DPT shot. What's weird now is I'm suddenly severely allergic to peanuts. Never had food allergies before, and I even got tested for them within the past 10 years because digestive problems, but they're not food allergies. Anyway, all these health problems in our medical system is a lot like the the system in Brazil where you get on a waiting list to have your air conditioning fixed, and in the meantime, the air is so toxic it can kill you before anyone ever gets there to fix it. I put the cigarette out and it's still smoking. I don't want it to burn the filter because that stinks. Wow, zero theorem. All kinds of computerized stuff going on in it, and people are weird, and machines are weird. It's visually amazing. You must have had quite the budget for it. Not special effects in particular, but yes, Tora, say hi to your adoring fans. You're staying in the house till I'm done here. You are. Okay? Oh, you weigh a ton. My little girl got big and huge. Yes, she did. Wonder where he got the budget for all those things. There is there are a few special effects in Zero Theorem, but most of the amazing visuals are actual sets and props and so forth. And he even has those little cars, self driving cars that are real small. They look like a ride at Disneyland, but they're actual cars on the street taking people places. Yes, Tora. And when they're on the computer, the public computers, there are some special effects. Etsy Quintia says that was Robert De Niro there, by the way, Rebel air conditioning technician. Oh, I didn't know that. Followed by the late Bob Hoskins from Central Services. Thank you, Etsy Quintia. I had no idea that would be in Brazil. Well, in Zero Theorem, there's a lot of smashing of computers. Our main character, whose name I just don't remember, it didn't seem important, keeps smashing computers with a hammer. Okay, let's see. Cast Zero Theorem. Bitch. Oh, Christoph Waltz as Cohen Leth. They end up just calling him Q. I can't really read on the Google results. I have to open IMDb. Internet Movie Database. Okay, Terry Gilliam directed it. The screenplay was by Pat Russian, spelled like Rush in. And Terry Gilliam added additional dialogue. Tora, get off me. Oh, and much like Minority Report, everywhere he goes, there are not only these flashing neon signs, but actual ads that are talking. They don't specifically name Q as their target. In Minority Report, the ads actually target the individual by name. Well, in Zero Theorem, they're just general advertising, but they're everywhere. Videos of people, often good looking women, talking about their product or service. It's a world dominated by machines, mostly computers. So Q is sort of an iconoclast, smashing the iconic computers with a hammer. And the whole time he's waiting for a phone call. A phone call from someone who will tell him what it all means. And the people around him tell him that he's delusional. Oh well. So, in many ways, it's a study of how our lives have become dominated by technology, but it's also a story about what humanity is, what humanity means. Didn't really want another cigarette, it's just a habit to pick one up and light it. Yes, Tora, you're cute and sweet. Now quit. You know you have to wait. That door does not open until after I'm done here. Yeah, so don't push your luck. It's actually cool this morning. The monsoon has tried to come to the mountains. It did rain in Big Bear, but not here in beautiful downtown Crestline. It just got kind of overcast and not exactly foggy, but definitely moisture in the air, and it hasn't hit 98 degrees in the past couple days. It stayed down in the 80s. Yes, Tora, don't bug me so much. You're a pest. I have to reassure Tora that she's the number one cat. She is not happy about sharing her house and her human with kittens. Also, the house where the mama cat probably came from, it's locally known as the cat house, has been condemned, and animal control took all the cats that they could catch. So that might be what happened to Sweetie, my 16-year-old furry feral kitty. I mean, she's okay with me because I feed her, but don't touch the pelt. It's mine. You can't touch her. Although once in a while I've accidentally brushed against her fur while handing her treats. Well, anyway, she disappeared for 2 weeks. Maybe she was one of the cats that animal control caught, but when they realized that she was spayed, they brought her back. I think that's what happened. The cats at the cat house are not spayed and neutered. Quite often with feral cats, they will be spayed and neutered and returned so that they won't make more cats. Tora, what are you doing? Huh? Oh, she's watching the video. She's watching YouTube. Ah, no pause in my coffee. Coffee's bad for cats. What? I gave you treats, you didn't eat them. I'm not giving you more. Ah, I will open a can. Maybe that'll get her settled down. Come on. There you go. There's breakfast for Tora. Ah, I was afraid she would say I didn't want that flavor, but she's okay with it. And the kittens are outside so they won't come running in and gobble up all the canned food while Tora waits. Oh, Etsequentia says, I don't know. We might be too skeptical about machines. I think we should give machines a chance at global domination, especially total control over all thermonuclear weapons. What's the worst that can happen? Well, I don't remember who wrote the story, but many moons ago, in the 1900s, probably the 70s, I read a story in which the computers were told to start the nuclear war and drop atomic bombs. But these computers had access to all the writings of all the cultures throughout history, and they concluded that it would be wrong to drop the bomb, so they refused to do it. Very early prediction of AI, artificial intelligence. I think it's overly optimistic to conclude that the machines would refuse. Well, there's Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. I can't quote them, I'm not that much into it, but basically the robots are required to save humans who need saving and not harm humans. And given the choice, the robots would choose harm to themselves rather than harm to a human. I don't know how you would program that into a machine. Now, Phil, in early stories like A Lincoln Simulacrum and We Can Build You, what he had were robotic, robots. But in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the androids were biological, flesh and blood, and in many ways more human than the agents, I guess, cops who hunted them. But in the earlier stories, his Abraham Lincoln robot or android was more human and more humane than some of the humans around him, because the thoughts of Abraham Lincoln were programmed into him. I don't know. I wonder if machines could do any worse than what's happening now. There's a show called Y-Files. At Sequentia. It says a recent Y-Files episode on YouTube, the host, AJ, read a horror story detailing how an AI managed to escape an isolated research facility. The story was chilling. He concluded by saying, "This story was written by an AI." Wow. Well, as long as AI is code inside a computer, it can't physically escape the lab. But if it has internet, all bets are off. It can be everywhere, and it can corrupt everything. Well, she ate a couple treats and then hopped down. Something distracted her. Cats are easily distracted. Tori, you have to wait till I'm done here. You know that. Besides, if I open that door, the kittens will come in and pester you and eat all the food. What? What? I gave you treats. You don't get my food. Ah! No paws in the coffee. Ew. I'll be right back. Ew. Ew. That grossed me out, so no coffee. I still have tea and water. A bit of dirt fell off her paw into my coffee. You got dirty paws, Tora. Cats are supposed to be clean creatures. Yeah. Mm. Wow. In many ways, our world is run by machines. I remember when banks were just getting truly computerized. At the bank, people would come in at night and type all of your checks and other transactions into a computer station at the bank, and it would send all that information to a computer in their downtown offices. And even in the 70s, computers were still great big things. Nothing like portable. The computer would have its own cubicle or office in the corporate building. And when I had a question about my balance in my account, well, the computer is never wrong. Well, the computer knew only what some human typed into the little computerized station at the bank. And one time, I got my statement in the mail, and they would return your actual checks in the envelope with the statement. And there were 2 checks that were in the envelope but not listed on my bank statement. So I went to the bank and asked them what was going on, and the teller grabbed the 2 checks and said, "Thank you." They had not processed my checks. They had paid the payee, but they had not taken the money out of my account. So, well, since I brought them the questionable checks, they were able to take the money out of my account. If I had known that that's what happened, I still would have brought them the checks. You really don't want to be cheating your bank. even though I suspect that some banks cheat us. You know, like Skank of America and Shitty Bank. I will not do business with them. Credit unions are better in many ways. But sometimes you need an actual bank. It depends upon what kind of banking you're doing. But you know, our local credit union is good enough for the Lions Club, so it's good enough for me. Cat hair. Tora won't let me brush her. She doesn't like it. So her hair goes everywhere. Well, anyway, my kitty cat Sweetie is around, a little more skittish than before. But she comes home to eat. Oh, man. We are kind of disconnected while feeling connected. You know, we're chatting on a computer. We don't see each other, but we could if we were on Zoom or StreamYard. Apparently, if I wanted to do these podcasts through Zoom, I would have to pay money to Zoom. And I'm on a very tight budget. Prices keep going up while my income remains the same. However, I do have a friend who does eBay. See, I could sell things on eBay myself, but I'm a small seller, not very active, and I don't have an eBay store. So I would not have the protections that he has if and when things go wrong. Yeah, at Sequent, he is talking about a cashless society, no cash, all digital. Doesn't sound good, no. Any hacker, never mind the government or the bank or some credit card company, any hacker could wipe you out, lock you out of your money. You couldn't buy food. You couldn't pay your bills. And by the way, I don't do any financial transactions on the phone. Phones are not as hard to hack into as computers. They keep wanting me to put the app on my phone, and I'm like, no money on my phone. Phones are too easy to steal and easier to hack into than an actual computer. Oh, the kittens are crying to come in. They're hungry. Oh, I'll break the rules. It's been an hour. I'll let them in. Okay, Tora. But the kitties are going to mob you. All right. In and out. Yeah, they're kitties. They're hungry kitties. Only 2 came in. There should be 3. I don't know where the other one is. Oh, Sequentia says the final scene from Fight Club suddenly makes a lot of sense now. Well, I haven't seen Fight Club. All I know is you don't talk about the Fight Club. That's the rules. Because that line keeps getting repeated in ads and clips. Oh, there's 3 kitties now. And Tora got to go outside. I keep her in at night because that's when the wild critters come around and it's dangerous. But there's no way to keep her in all the time. Oh, Delta Dart wants to know what happens in the final scene of Fight Club. You might as well tell us, because spoilers don't matter when I'm never going to see the film. Gosh. Got tickles in my throat. Wow. Let's see if I can get a picture of the kitties for you. There they are. They're moshing that food. Okay. Cats. Come on, camera, sit still. Wow. Mayhem at Sequentia says lots of mayhem. Demolition of all the buildings belonging to credit card companies and erasing all financial records, creating a society without debt. In Fight Club? Oh, here's the pest. Come here, Patches. The only kitten that got a name. Say hi to your adoring fans. Yeah, see, there's a kitty in the screen. Here, purring away. Patches is a calico. Orange, white, and black, but not your typical calico. Yeah, hop down. Patches is a pest. Oh, well, I'm going to put you on the penthouse because Tora didn't eat her treats. There you go. Lots of weird in Fight Club, huh? Okay. Oh, Patches is in kitty heaven. She's got a mountain of cat treats that Tora didn't want. Oh, also graphic violence in Fight Club, not a movie for kids. Yeah, I have the feeling that I just don't want to see it. Wow. So anyway, the cat house, the local cat house, not a house of ill repute, but a house with 50 cats and more on the way because they didn't spay or neuter their cats. It's been condemned, locked up, animal control took as many cats as they could catch, and the people are locked out of the house because it's condemned. So maybe our cat population will not keep growing exponentially. I'm trying to find homes for these kitties, but all the shelters are full. And we have a cat population explosion going on. At least a local pet charity will get them spayed and neutered so they won't make more kittens. But I really didn't want more cats. The other two cats are so nearly identical, the other two kittens. I haven't given them names, and I can't really tell which is which, except one is more skittish than the other. But if they're spayed and they have their shots, I guess I can afford to feed them. I'm not even sure about that. I'll have to give up something in order to get food for them. Now all three of them are noshing on the treats that Tora didn't want. Ah, cats. What am I going to do today? This is Wednesday. This is the day the local weekly newspaper gets delivered to all the various locations where they're sold. It's usually a quiet day. Usually. Except for the kitties. They found the litter box all on their own, and like your typical cat, when they're outside, they come into the house to use the litter box. I don't know why they can't just do that outside where I don't have to scoop it. Oh, they're so cute. Yeah, they're cuties. But they're cats. Kittens turn into cats. At one time, early 2000s, I had 8 cats. I never went and got a cat. They just showed up. Sometimes with a human, sometimes not. But back then I could afford to have them spayed and neutered so they wouldn't make more cats. Right, Tora? Well, they ate the treats that you didn't want. Uh-oh, Patches is gonna leap from her perch. Don't even think it. Tora will whop you. Patches is very bold. Lets me handle her and pet her and won't let me stop petting her. Yeah, you kitties. Yeah. What you doing, Patches? No, don't hop on my lap. Kittens have kitten claws, and she hasn't learned not to claw the mommy. Humans are very sensitive to claws. Here, have that. You too. Even the skittish ones line up and give me the sad eyes when they know that there are treats. cats and kitties. Oh, wow. Oh, sometimes I think that the movie They Live is more truth than fiction. Some of our world leaders act as if they were an alien species, and I suspect that they believe that they are genetically superior to the rest of us. They act as if they are. The wealthy and powerful entitled elites. They try to divide us, and they're doing a pretty good job. Democrats against Republicans, blacks against whites, against Mexicans, against Asians. Patches, you're silly. Oh, such a kitty cat. And this one's pretty tame with me, but I don't know how she would act with someone else. Yeah, hop off. Your claws hurt. At least I'm wearing denim jeans today and not light cotton slacks. They're somewhat protective. What? More gruel? Are you Oliver Twist? Please, sir, I'd like some more. Treats are even more expensive than cat food. Well, where's number 3? If you want the treats, you have to go to where I dropped them because I can't find you. There he or she is. It isn't about race. It's about social status and entitlement. I mean, we elected a black president. We have lots of black, Hispanic, and Asian representatives and senators in the Congress. Oh, hi, Weekend. You're very late. I'm winding down already. It's been an hour. But you see, it's the old divide and conquer. Get the huddled masses, the deplorables, and the inferior people to fight against each other and kill each other off, while wealthy and powerful entitled elites get wealthier and more powerful and more entitled, flying around on private jets while scolding us for driving a car that burns gasoline. How many SUVs were we driving 12,000 years ago when the glaciers were melting and the ice age began to come to an end? It hasn't ended yet. Yes, Vegan Animal Farm, George Orwell's other famous book. I think that's why protesters in the 60s started calling police officers pigs. In Animal Farm, the police officers were the pigs, literally. When the animals took over the farm, they just formed their own hierarchy, and they had a better life under the human. And speaking of farms, it seems like every government in the Western world, whatever that means, It includes Eastern Europe, but okay. Every government seems to be out to destroy farming. In the Netherlands, oh, itchy tickles. Cat hair. It's your fault. In the Netherlands, farmers have been protesting. Their government wants them to, for example, reduce the number of cattle that they have, reduce the number of acres that they plant, use a lot less fertilizer. And in some cases, the government wants to force farmers to sell their land to the government so the land can just sit there doing nothing. Etsequentia says, 2 or 3 years ago, I saw an old cat at a friend's house. He told me friends of his gave her to him and went abroad. Back and she hasn't got long left to live. And then she's still there and very much alive to this day. Oh, so the friends who went abroad are never coming back, and the cat supposedly didn't have long to live. And it's been 2 or 3 years, and the cat's still alive and kicking. Well, Sweetie is 16, and that's very old for any cat, but especially a feral cat who won't even come in at night. She stayed in all winter. It was cold. But now that it's summertime, she'll come in to eat and then leave again. And so, it's her life, her choice. Now, why don't you talk your siblings into letting me pet them too, huh, Patches? You silly kitten. Once in a while, I just get my hand close to them, trying to convince them that I'm harmless. They ain't buying it. Humans are evil. But they have food and treats and litter boxes. Right, Patches? Now, Patches is going to be a real pet, aren't you? Your two siblings are just not getting with the program. Okay, Etsequentia wants to know, would vegan prefer to be ruled by our AI overlords or our extraterrestrial benevolent leaders? Well, many of the elites in this world believe that they are, in a sense, extraterrestrial, that their bloodlines go back to the ancient gods. Well, that would not be a good thing. Don't they know the stories? Even the Greek and Roman mythology, and definitely the Middle Eastern myths of gods, paint a picture of very evil entities that are not benevolent toward us. Well, there's the good members of the heavenly host who obey God and wish us good, but the majority of those pagan gods and goddesses, either hate humanity or just don't care. Oh, hi, Steve. Greetings from perfidious Albion. I believe that refers to England, but I can't swear to it. Let's look that up. Perfidious Albion. Come on, Google, load the page, load the results. Let's go. Oh, yeah, a term used by some people to describe the British Empire, suggesting that the British were deceitful and treacherous in their dealings as an empire. And apparently, yeah, there's a book titled Perfidious Albion. Apparently, either it's been translated into German or it was written in German. The Germans are not the ones to talk. Okay. Well, Napoleon did not start the wars. He started one war against a part of Spain that had violated a treaty. All the other wars, Napoleonic wars, were started by his enemies. Now, I'm not on board with Napoleon's decision to try to have a son who could become the emperor after him. That's not good. I gotta look something up real quick. There was oh, come on, evil machine. Spelling it wrong. There was a Napoleon who ruled Mexico. Napoleon III maneuvered to establish a French client state in Mexico and eventually installed Maximilian of Habsburg, Archduke of Austria, as Emperor of Mexico. Yeah, that's what I thought. Basically, during and after our Civil War, the French were ruling Mexico. Now, this was not Napoleon Bonaparte because he was dead by then, or at least in exile. Okay. Anyway, I don't remember whether the Napoleon who intervened in Mexico actually was related to Napoleon. It's a first name, not a family name. His family name was Bonaparte. So just because someone's named Napoleon doesn't mean they're related. I don't feel like diving that deep right now. The 1800s were much more embroiled in war than the 1900s. The 20th century is touted as very violent because we had 2 world wars. And of course, the United States decided to emulate the British Empire and go around the world. Of course, we don't call them colonies, but we still have territories. The Philippines said, we want independence, and the United States said, okay. Unlike the British Empire that was always putting down rebellions, but we still have territories in the Caribbean, like Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. We even have a military base in Cuba. Apparently, China has one too, or they're building one. We have Guam, American Samoa, about half of the island, probably the best half. Just all kinds of territories all over. But when our territories say, we want independence, we say, okay. When Hawaii said, we want to be a state, well, that was mostly American immigrants to Hawaii when it was a territory. And the Dole Corporation, like Dole pineapples and C&H sugar grown in Hawaii. Although mom and dad were convinced that they were really smuggling Cuban sugar, we don't buy Cuban goods. If you want a good Cuban cigar, you have to go to Canada. Anyway, it was the wealthy white Americans, not the Hawaiian Islanders, who decided Hawaii needed to become a state. Alaska was a territory, and we didn't ask the Eskimos. The American settlers in Alaska wanted statehood. So Alaska gained statehood first, followed by Hawaii. And they were both officially made states about a year later. And 2 more stars were added to our American flag. I don't know, in some places that's V for victory. I'm just doing 2, the number 2. When you go like this, it's supposed to mean peace, but apparently in Europe, it's a bad word. Starts with F. Anyway, so my parents had an old flag with 48 stars. I wanted it, but mom threw it out. Yeah, we bought Alaska from Russia, but it wasn't a state, it was a territory. And Oregon and Washington state were territories of the United States. We bought them from Russia too. I think we got a good deal on those purchases. Alaska, when Alaska was purchased, it was known as Seward's Folly. Seward, Seward, was criticized for paying all that money for that frozen wasteland. And I have to look it up, but it was a long time ago. Okay, we purchased Alaska shortly after the Civil War. Alaska was formally transferred to the United States on October 18, 1867, through a treaty ratified by the U.S. Senate. And we paid a whopping $7 million for Alaska, which came down to 2 cents per acre. But they thought it was a horrible deal to pay all that money for Alaska. even though it was a popular place for the gold rush. And then after we bought Alaska, oil was discovered, and oh man, we got a good deal on that. But it didn't become a state till, oh, I was alive and aware of it, so I'm thinking 1960, but 1959. I was close. 1959. Okay. Actually, all the various government stuff took place in 1958, but the statehood of Alaska was officially proclaimed on January 3, 1959. Now, we got the Philippines in the Spanish American War, along with a bunch of islands in the Caribbean and so forth. And as I said, when the Philippines decided they didn't want to be part of the United States, they wanted their independence, our government said, okay, have a nice life. They wanted us to give back our military bases in the Philippines. Well, we gave one back after the volcano buried it. I think we still have the other 2 or 3. One being a naval base. Anyway, Hawaii became a state not because the Hawaiian people wanted statehood, but because the wealthy American corporations wanted it. It's a crime what we did to, I'm not sure what her title was, and I don't remember her name, but the Hawaiian queen, the daughter of the king, put under house arrest when she was the rightful ruler of Hawaii. Also, we could grow pineapples and sugar cane. Oh, yes, at Sequentia, plenty of stories of gold prospectors going missing in Alaska under mysterious circumstances. I'm sure that happened everywhere that people got gold fever. Hi, Tora. You're back. Ooh. She's kind of lurking because she doesn't want the kittens to pester her. I got to touch a kitten paw. She says, don't touch the fur, it's mine. Eventually, she'll figure out that I'm not a cat murderer, and it can actually feel good to have a human scratch your pelt. Sound is breaking up? Well, Steve, I don't know what to tell you. I don't see any problems here. Let me check something. No, I'm at 100%. Sequentia says it's still good on his or her end. Yes, your kitty cats. Yeah, you tell him, Tora. This is your house, not theirs. She hissed at a kitty. The kitty approached too closely. Someday you'll figure out that you like being petted. Yeah. Patches knows, don't you? Anyway, it's been an hour and a half and I'm winding down and the cats are pestering me. What, Tora? Anyway, we are pretty much doing the bidding of London. Afghanistan. Yeah, I know the Russians invaded first, but long before that, the British were there. Their colony in India included Pakistan. Pakistan was part of India, the northern part. And the assassin killed Mahatma Gandhi for allowing the partition, which made Pakistan a separate country. Dora. Hi, Dora. She's in her hidey hole. Well, I had the word a minute ago. Cubicle. Safe from the kittens. That isn't cat treats. You don't eat raisins. Honestly, you don't eat chocolate raisins, especially. Chocolate is bad for cats, and raisins are bad for them too. Patches, get off me. Cats do not live by treats alone. Let's see, in Vietnam, we tried to rescue the failed French colony when the French gave up and pulled out. How did that go? We tried to liberate Korea from China, and now we have two Koreas, North and South. We've intervened in Afghanistan where the British and the Russians failed, or just gave up and left. North Africa, French and British colonies failed, so now we're intervening. Oh. That's not a cat toy, kitties. Oh well. Yeah, I know, Tora, they're pests. I don't blame you. No, won't let me touch you. Tora lets me touch her. Patches does too. They're playing with a chain that's hanging from my desk lamp. They think it's a cat toy. Well, someday you won't run away when I pet you. Mostly I just sit quietly so they don't get alarmed, but once in a while I try to touch them so they'll get used to it. No harm comes to them. They'll figure it out. Okay, Etsequentia has completely unrelated good news. Korea is going to give up its beloved traditional soup made from dog meat. Well, that's a step in the right direction. Yeah, there's been protests mostly from Americans, but really people all around the world about the dog meat festival, an annual festival in which they eat dog meat. Dogs are raised for food, and sometimes they'll even kidnap people's pet dogs. That is very good news. Oh man. So, anyway, it appears that even though we're an independent nation, we're really ruled by London. We won the Revolutionary War in the 1770s. We pushed back the British in the War of 1812, with a little help from the French, by the way. Napoleon wasn't all bad. I just really think he went off the rails when he decided to establish a hereditary head of state, an emperor. He never seemed like that the empire building type in his earlier years, just a French patriot who didn't like the corrupt government. Anyway, so in the Civil War, the English funded both sides with loans. The bankers of London, including but not limited to the Rothschilds, gave loans to the North and the South. And so they took over our country by putting us into debt. And it's getting worse and worse. Our debt is it's somewhere over 30 trillion. We can't sustain this. And it isn't really England's monarchy that took over, it's the bankers, the international bankers. And don't try to tell me it's the Jews. There are no the Jews. And the Rothschilds are only Jewish when there's some benefit for them by claiming to be Jews. They aren't Jewish. They aren't ethnically Jewish and they aren't religious Jews. They're just scumbags. Their name isn't Rothschild. That was the sign over their pawn shop. The red sign, the red shield, Rothschild. I forgot what their name was, but it's a German name. Might be Bauer. Not sure. It is wealthy and powerful entitled elites. They come in all sizes, shapes, colors, and so forth. And we are not invited to their parties. They use us. Well, guys, an hour and 40. It's time to get back off the computer and into the real world where cats are flesh and blood and not little cartoon memes with jokes to laugh at. although they are entertaining. And it's time for breakfast. And yes, Tora, I know. Those kitty cats are pests. And this is your house, ain't it? We need to seriously focus on liberty, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, rather than, oh, the world's coming to an end. About every 5 years, someone says, we'll all be dead in 5 years, and it doesn't happen, so they move the date back a little. Don't believe them. The world will still be here long after we're all gone. It might not be habitable for humans, but it'll be here. In the 70s, 60s mostly, but early 70s, we were going to go back into a terrible ice age and all freeze to death because we were driving gas-guzzling cars. Now in 5 years, we're all going to die from the extreme heat because we're all driving gas-guzzling cars. And they've been saying that since 1980. We have 5 years to turn the tide so we don't all die. It isn't going to happen. I mean, it might happen, but not today and not tomorrow, and certainly not in 5 years. We need to slow down and, for example, stop the insane California environmental regulations that are killing the salmon. The salmon that grow up in the Pacific Ocean, and then when it's time to spawn and lay eggs, they swim up the rivers to where they were born and lay their eggs. California is making it impossible for the salmon to swim upstream and lay their eggs. And now the orca are starving. You know, we used to call them killer whales, the orca. They're actually apparently a species of dolphin that kills whales, hence killer whale. They're starving because there are no salmon to eat. But it's to save the environment. How? You know, those beautiful orca like Shamu, they're starving because we're killing off the salmon. It's horrible. Let's see. Etsy Quentia says, this little rock orbiting the sun will still be here long after us. Sobering thought. Yeah. We're supposed to take care of the earth as if it were a garden. We're not supposed to decide by government decree that this species of fish will thrive and that species of fish will die out, which is exactly what California is doing. The delta smelt, an invasive species of fish that are generally about 1 inch long and not good for anything but bait, doesn't belong here, but it's being protected because some environmentalists petitioned the state government and got their way. It's killing off salmon and trout and one other fish. I think it's the striped mackerel. Anyway, they're killing off the native species, most notably the salmon, to preserve this invasive species that does not belong here. That's insane. And as a result, the orca are starving to death. They have no salmon to eat. Never mind that people like to eat salmon. Oh, they farm them for us and feed the salmon crap all their lives and put chemicals in the water to kill the diseases they get from being crowded into fish farms. The orca, one of the major symbols of environmentalism, the orca, the killer whale, is dying of starvation. And our governor Newsom thinks he can become the president of the United States and impose that insanity on all of us? Well, I'm stuck in California, but there are 49 other states and a few territories too. It's insane and it has to stop. So, since all politics is local, contact your local politicians. Some of them actually listen. Your school board, your city council, your mayor, your county board of supervisors, your state government, your representatives in Congress, in the U.S. Congress, in the state Senate and the state House. The Congress is the whole thing, Senate and House. But you have a state legislature too. There's someone representing you in your state capital. They're more likely to listen than someone in Washington, D.C. Blech. The cesspool worse than Hollywood. Anyway, if you can, and you like weird movies, watch Zero Theorem. I'm not sure. It isn't on Tubi anymore, that TUBI site, but it's got to be somewhere online. At least clips on YouTube. It's fascinating. And iconoclastic. He smashes the computers with a hammer. So, thank you all for listening and have a great day. And I'll catch you again next time here on YouTube or somewhere. Bye.